staunch devotees. Now today we will be discussing who can understand Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We discussed the importance of that. This is till now we have discussed. Now we are going to discuss who can understand Bhagavad Gita. My voice is audible? Who can understand Bhagavad Gita? So only those who are on the platform of love of God will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. This is one category issue. And take out introduction. Just take out introduction. Just after the Mangala Charan, if you see where the Mangala Charan ends, and Imam Vivasvate Yogam, the shloka is there in the next page. Imam Vivasvate Yogam. Just below that, the paragraph. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku. And in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his. Now what we are trying to understand here, who can understand Bhagavad Gita? So Krishna is Prabhupada is mentioning here that he is relating the supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. So who can understand Bhagavad Gita? Who is a devotee and a friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is specially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, Yogi, and the Bhaktas, or the impulsivists, the meditator and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others. And it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualified qualities similar to Arjuna's. So who can understand Bhagavad Gita? Who has qualities similar to Arjuna. Clear? That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is very elaborate subject matter. But briefly, it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Lord in one of 5 different ways. One will be a devotee in a passive state, in an active state, as a friend, as a parent, as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there's a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material. So here we can see that one should have qualities similar to Arjuna, and also one should be situated in either of the 5 relationships with the Lord. That happens in the stage of which stage of devotional life? Prema, right? bhav, prem. At the stage of prema, one can directly reciprocate with Lord in one of the five rasas. So here it is being mentioned that only one who is situated in the stage of prema, either of the five rasas, is qualified to understand Bhagavad Gita, right? So, but also we have discussed before that Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru. Tasaita kathita hi artha prakashante mahatma. But to the degree of surrender, one has on Guru and Krishna, one will be enlightened, Prakash, one will this secret science of Bhagavad Gita. It is mentioned here, this secret science, the supreme secret, it is being mentioned. But only to one who has faith and surrender on Guru and Krishna. So we may not have faith and surrender now, but this faith and surrender gradually develops and comes to different stages of understanding of Bhagavad Gita. There are different stages. There are 9 stages of understanding Bhagavad Gita. We'll discuss later. 9. Yeah, and later we will discuss. So, like that. So the sadhakas like us can also understand Bhagavad Gita, but by the mercy of Guru and pure devotees, sadhus and Guru, by the mercy of pure devotees, we will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. So can again read the purport. And again, so just next page, take out the next page. You can see out of the second paragraph in the next page. Out of so many human beings, so this paragraph tells us that even though sadhakas will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita by the mercy of pure devotees. So out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about the position as to what they are and why they are put in this awkward position and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as student was Arjuna. So again, who can understand Bhagavad Gita? Who has firm faith on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such a student was Arjuna. So one should be awakened to one's own suffering, that why we are suffering in life, where we have come from, and where we will go after death. Unless one is awakened to these questions of life, when one is awakened to these questions of life, then one is qualified, capable to understand Bhagavad Gita. Clear? This is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. There should be some Jigyasa. If there is no inquiry, then how come he'll not feel the need to understand Bhagavad Gita? So, but with a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of God. So these are the qualities of Arjuna. Right? So we discussed. So one needs to have these qualities so that one can understand Bhagavad Gita. We'll discuss how we can understand Bhagavad Gita. That also we'll discuss later. Now we'll discuss who can understand Bhagavad Gita. Now we are going to discuss from whom we should learn Bhagavad Gita. This is the topic of discussion. From whom we should understand Bhagavad Gita. We discussed who can understand Bhagavad Gita. Now we are discussing from whom we should understand Bhagavad Gita. So there, if you all remember, there used to be a Dr. Patel when Srila Prabhupada used to go in Bombay for morning walk on the Juhu beach. there used to be a Dr. Patel. Do you know Akash? Dr. Patel. It's a very there are very nice conversations with Dr. Patel. So Dr. Patel used to come and create a lot of ruckus and a lot of discussions, hot discussions used to happen between Srila Prabhupada and Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel used to act like an atheist, or like not like an atheist, but he generally he had a soft corner for the all the different sadhus and so-called sadhus also, and he was generally of the mood that he was a good scholar, but he was of the mood that we should not discriminate or criticize. But Srila Prabhupada often used to criticize these bogus swamis and avatars and gurus. So often he was not feeling very happy about that. He was not so happy. And Dr. Patel once asked that why you are discriminating and criticizing. You are supposed to be Samadarshina. Sadhus are devotees are Samadarshina. Vidya Vinay Sampanne Parambane Gavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Sapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. That one is supposed to be Samadarshina. Then why do you criticize? There was a purport. Huh? Oh, he's thinking in some six. Can be paused? Yes. So, from whom we should understand Bhagavad Gita? So, Dr. Patel used to bother Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, he put this argument that you are supposed to be Samadarshana. Prabhupada said, Samadarshana does not mean we should not discriminate from whom we are taking knowledge. We should discriminate the source of knowledge. The source of knowledge is important. So the discussion is on the source of knowledge. That how it is possible that one will know before accepting spiritual master. Because generally we are supposed to get knowledge from spiritual master, but we have to select a spiritual master before getting knowledge from spiritual master. So how it is going to happen? How we'll be able to choose who is correct spiritual master and who is not deviated and who is properly Tattva Darshina? Right? How will you will find out that? So this has become problematic in the recent times more because of lack of cultural training and education. Because earlier people used to imbibe a lot of things by their own culture. Formal education used to come later on, but a lot of education used to happen just out of culture. People used to understand who is real and who is fake because the culture was so strong. But because of this cultural loss, Now everything has to be education has to be given for everything. For everything to learn, you have to go to school because you cannot learn anything from the family. So the role of family and culture is being taken by the schools, and they are not teaching anything purposeful. So due to cultural loss, we are facing this issue. But if we take faithfully, if somebody is very faithful and he sees that no others are also following, somebody may accept out of just faithfulness that others are following, I can also follow. That is also good. But or else one can follow sadhus, one can hear from other sadhus and come to know who is a proper spiritual master, because there are three things by which we can judge each other. Like if you want to judge sadhu, you can judge from guru and shastra. If you want to judge shastra, you can judge from guru and sadhu. So if you want to choose a guru, another way is to go to the sadhus. So, but one should have a preliminary understanding that who is the spiritual master. Prabhupada gave the example: if you are going to buy gold, you must be aware that what is gold and what are the parameters by which you can understand the purity of the gold. That it should be 24 karat, and what is karat. That kind of basic understanding should be there, is it not? Right or not? That kind of basic understanding is there. If you don't know what is carat, right? What is 24 carat? Anybody will cheat you. So while taking knowledge, you should discriminate. But while giving knowledge, you should not discriminate. Prabhupada. We should discriminate while taking knowledge, but we should not discriminate while giving knowledge. That should be the principle. So तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्षन्ति ते ज्ञानिनस् तत्त्वदर्शिनः. So when the guru has to be Tattvadarshi, from whom we should understand Bhagavad Gita, he should be a Tattvadarshi. That is the principle. And the basic preliminary understanding should be there before we approach anybody to understand Bhagavad Gita, so that we can judge whether the person is proper or not, properly situated or not. What understanding should be there? That whether he is Tattvadarshi or not. Like there are many big scholars, they know a lot of Sanskrit. They are very educated. They know all the subtleties and the nuances of the scriptures. But when you speak to them, they identify themselves as a Hindu. They're like, we are working to uplift the Hindu identity, right? Or else they will praise Vivekananda, right? There are others like that. They are good scholars, much more bigger scholars, much more higher knowledge than of a lot of scriptures. But if you speak to them, they'll praise Vivekananda. The fact that they praise Vivekananda, that means they're not Tattvadarshi. Is there any doubt in this? They are not Tattvadarshi. So who is a Tattvadarshi? So if you see Srila Prabhupada, if you see his qualities, Srila Prabhupada was bent upon that to preach whatever Krishna has spoken in Bhagavad Gita as it is. He was never ready to compromise. He was never ready to deviate from the instructions of Krishna. And the same mood he imparted into his disciples. And Srila Prabhupada instructed the authority of disciplic succession, that how one can judge who is a bona fide guru, and not just out of sentiments, out of Tattvadarshi, that who is a Tattvadarshi and who has come in the disciplic succession. So properly as per the Vedic conclusion, not just out of personal opinion. So if you see, and also Srila Prabhupada's vision can also be seen in the fact that among all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the gurus who were there, it was only Srila Prabhupada who took this step to establish these farm communities. So he was aware of the fact that if devotees have to practice Krishna consciousness, the platform which will support them is mode of ignorance, right? The platform which will support them is mode of ignorance, right? Mode of goodness. I'm just trying to see whether they are awake or not. The platform which will support them is mode of goodness. So mode of goodness supports bhakti. So where is mode of goodness? In cities, in towns and cities, or in villages? In villages. So Prabhupada understood that if devotees had to practice Krishna consciousness, the best platform for them to practice Krishna consciousness is farm communities, where people can live a simple life, reduce the unnecessary necessities of life, and save time and practice Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada understood it, that he had a vision. This is the symptom of a Tattvadarshi, that he understands things, what Shastras intend to say. So in the fourth chapter, 42nd verse, please take out. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. The last portion, from 15 to 20, 15 lines up from the last line. One is therefore advised. You see, one is therefore advised. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and it does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Bhagavad Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this as a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. So you are able to understand that one should be beware of self-interested people. It is a beware of dogs, like that. Sometimes it is written on the gates. Prabhupada is writing, and beware of self-interested people who are after personal aggrandizement. They are teaching Bhagavad Gita. There are a lot of people like that who are after personal aggrandizement. One should be aware of that, who deviate others from the actual path. What to say of bringing you to the path of bhakti? They will deviate whatever bhakti you have, whatever devotion we have. They will corrupt that also. This kind of people. So we not just everybody who appears to be a devotee is a devotee. Right? What he is speaking has to be properly identified. Whether he is speaking as per the Shastra or not. Right? Not just he appears to be devotee. He wears tilak, he wears kanthimala, and he's very nice. He speaks nicely. Right? So that is not the. So the Lord is different. And another thing that one should understand, the activities of the Lord as transcendental. Right? The Lord is definitely the Supreme Person. Actually, one who understands this is a liberated person. That who is a Tattvadarshina? Who understands Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yovet Tattvata. Tattvata. This who is Tattvadarshi? Who understands this Tattvata? What do you understand Tattvata? That Janma Karma Chame Divyam. That Lord's birth and activities are transcendental. So he is Tattvata. He has understood. One who understands this is a liberated person. So we have to find out that person. One who doubts the authority of Krishna, one who doesn't have the firm faith, he cannot be Tattvadarshi. Prabhupada again says, learning from academic scholars What are the ill effects of learning from academic scholars? Take 6, 8 purport, 6 chapter 8 verse. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. You see, mundane scholarship Prabhupada is targeting here. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. What is the problem with academic knowledge? It's being mentioned here. One can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. And he will reject Bhagavad Gita. It is a realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no great value than pebbles or stones. So, in the modern world, mundane scholarship is considered as diamond, MA, BA, CA, BTech, MTech, but here is considered equated to pebbles and stones. Is as good as pebbles and stones. So how much value, what value is being given? Worthless. What is the value of a pebble and stone? It's worthless. No value at all. So that is the important thing. Another thing which is being mentioned here is that one should be the person with whom, from whom we are hearing Bhagavad Gita, trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. He should be a realized soul, right? And he should be in a transcendental position. Base he should not base his preaching on mundane scholarship. He should be in a transcendental position. He should be self-controlled, surrendered to Krishna, and he should be in a transcendental position. How is self-control? What do you mean by self-control? That he surrendered to Krishna. This is self-control. You see, he's written, who is self-controlled because he surrendered to Krishna. Another thing, he is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. Try to understand. What do you mean by transcendental? That you should not you should not take help of mundane scholarship. You should not be attached to mundane scholarship, mundane education, mundane perspectives, right? What people perceive. So now we can see ISKCON is being influenced by mundane perspectives. That if you don't do some social welfare activities, helping the poor and the needy, and, this is also devotion. So this is called Manav Seva hi Manav Seva. This is a mundane concept, and we are being influenced. No? So that is being equated to service to God, serving the poor people. And now ISKCON is fully involved in feeding the poor, opening hospitals, opening schools. See, mundane education. What is this mundane education? Opening schools. That means the devotees are not in the transcendental platform. They are not acting on the transcendental platform. So it is said because mundane scholarship. So what should be considered as pebbles or stones? Devotees who are, although supposed to behave on transcendental platform, they are coming on this platform. So two qualities: self-control and transcendental. Self-control means surrender to Krishna. Just simply self-control will not work. Eventually, he will get victim if he is not surrendered to Krishna, because the senses cannot stay for a long time. They need some engagement. They need some higher taste. If the higher taste is not given of the service of Krishna, then gradually it will degrade. Right? Self-control and transcendental in the sense that there should not be mundane conception. So these are the qualities of a Tattvadarshi. So either we should learn from Krishna, I said here, that To understand that Krishna is the authority and his birth and activities are transcendental. In a similar way, Krishna or his representatives, both are similar. You know, if you see 10th chapter, 15th verse. Huh? What is that? There, I got it. I'm seeing where it is written. Thus, the truth about Krishna is established in this verse. No. 10, 15. There is, so we have to read. Sometime in Krishna. Yeah, so that's such. One second. Maybe I wrote it a little differently. In the 15th chapter, 19th verse also. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. It is like that accepting Krishna or his representatives, both are equal. So we'll end the discussion here. If anybody has any question, you can ask.
Self-control means self-realized. Self-control means self-realized.
Yeah, same thing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have one question. Like just now, 1 or 2 minutes before, we said that uh, uh, like there is a mundane scholarship in ISKCON also. Like how can it be possible? Like because if all the pure devotees are there in ISKCON, right? So
You come here, I'll explain. Today, when you come in the morning, I'll explain.
okay, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Okay. Any question? Yeah.